Pop, 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 pass the popcorn. 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 Pass the popcorn.
Welcome to Alternate Ending, where we're discovering good movies one bad movie at a time. And this is Pass the Popcorn, where we share thoughts and reviews on the latest things that we've been doing, watching, and always so much more. I'm your host, Carrie Jarasinski, and today I'm joined by two renowned experts in the area of film and dairy products, Mr. Brennan Klein and Mr. Tim Britton. Did I say Britain? I really didn't mean to say Britain.
I am, as we all know, a descendant of noted British composer Benjamin Britten. Thank you for finally pronouncing it correctly.
We're off to a good start. I even in my notes was like, say it correctly today. I even had it in there.
You've never in 4 years, 5 years, however long we've been doing this, said it wrong. I don't know what this was.
Tim Britton. So this is Tim Britton. He's new. He's new here. He knows more about movies than Tim Brayton, which is exciting.
I know.
So we're thrilled to have you both here because the Oscars happened. The Academy Awards, the 95th, right? Yesterday.
That's the number.
Good. I'm glad my fact check is already checking out. But we are on the eve of that. We're here to talk about them. The good, the bad, the dresses, the speeches, favorite awkward moments. I've got a few and probably so much more. So very excited to talk to you guys about that. But before we get there, anything new on your guys' ends? Exciting? Any happenings? I see haircuts.
I mean, I also see a haircut. I do not see two haircuts because Carrie is, for some reason, gotten in her head that I look handsome tonight. And I think it's just because Rob has been gone for so long that she's starting to get desperate.
No, you are in a different room than normal, and the lighting is much softer, I think.
I am glad to hear that. I actually find the lighting on my end of things. So I'm in my office on the campus of University of Wisconsin. I find the lighting very nerve-wracking and fluorescent, so I'm glad that it at least looks nice. So there's some trade-off to my current state of ennui.
Yes, your skin looks luscious. If you remember back in the day when we were trying to find a love interest for you, and I was like, hey, I'm going to start taking pictures of you in flattering lighting. If you weren't with love, what's that called? If you weren't bearing love. If you were in love. If you weren't in a relationship, perhaps. Yeah, you could say it that way too. This is the picture I would use. I would take a screenshot right now and tell you to put it right up there on that Tinder profile.
Well, maybe I should grab one just for
just in case. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, on my end, I don't know if I'm looking more youthful. Probably
you are, Carrie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. I was gonna say you didn't let me.
Oh gosh, thanks. I am on day 5 of being off all sauces. Just so you know. So I'm hoping all sauces.
So like alcohol, tomato,
barbecue, coffee. I haven't had coffee in 5 days.
Coffee is not a sauce.
It's a sauce. It's like a caffeine sauce.
Okay.
No? Okay. So I haven't had coffee.
Do you drink your coffee that you like?
It's thick.
Do you make a roux and then mix in coffee and then
water it down a
bit? Pour it over broccoli? Is that how you have coffee?
Most of the time. Like that's how much caffeine that I have. Like as thick as possible, as dense as possible. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like a few days, I guess it's been 5 days ago, we ran out of regular and Rob gave me only decaf and I didn't know.
Oh, decaf is vicious.
I know. So then day 2 rolled around and then it happened again. And I was like, this actually tastes like garbage. But like sometimes it normally does anyway. Like sometimes he makes it weird. And he does the thing, this is like the biggest pet peeve that I have. He takes the pot out before it's done brewing to like pour a cup, which completely throws off the ratio of the coffee.
It functions. It was designed to do a certain thing, and you let it do the certain thing. And if you don't let it do the certain thing, then what are we even talking about?
And wait, so is coffee just dripping onto the little platform while the pot is out?
No, so we have a fancy Mr. Coffee that like shuts it down. I mean, there's a couple drips, but it enrages me when he does this because the first cup of coffee is super strong. The second 5, 10, whatever are just watery at that point. So Anyway, I thought maybe it was just that he had done that again, so I was a little upset about it. And he's like, Karen, I got to tell you, we ran out of caffeinated coffee a couple days ago. And then I don't know what happened. I was like, is this it? Is this the moment where I should turn around my life and stop drinking 80 ounces of coffee? So then I did that. And then I was like, you know what? No more wine, no more CBD gummies before bed. I was like, I gotta cold turkey on all my sauces. And I haven't had barbecue sauce since either, just so you know. So
I'm still not over your unfathomably expansive definition of the word sauce
this is
that I am now led to believe includes hot edibles.
not hot. I said they're CBD adjacent. Like, whatever. They're
Adjacent?
Adjacent. They're
Is it
close.
just-
They're like close to CBD, sort of.
Okay.
Is it just melatonin? Because that's different. It's nice. I recommend it.
No,
but-
it's the thing I gave to Tim one time, and he went home and was like, "Dear God, what did you do to what did you do to me?" Because he ended up like hallucinating when he got home. But I don't have that effect. It doesn't have that effect. But I also nothing for 5 days there on my adjacent edibles. So yeah, I don't know what you're gonna get out of me today. This was kind of like a warning. I don't know what you're gonna see because I'm not in my true state right now. So
Yeah,
just prepare.
You took away the thing that helps you stay awake and the thing that helps you sleep. So I really am curious where we're gonna balance out.
I don't
Yeah,
know either.
I mean, just like hearing this conversation, I'm like, it is stressing me out just to imagine it.
I know. I'm caught in this weird limbo of moods where I'm just sort of like, am I happy? Like, am I angry? Am I sad? Am I tired? Am I overly am I awake? Like I don't know what's happening. I'm waking up at all hours.
None
of
of
the
this
night.
is happening, Carrie. You're dreaming this all. The Oscars haven't even aired yet.
Ah, gosh, maybe that'd be for the best. But that is good. I do want to talk about it. I have so many perspectives, but we will get there. But before we get there, have you guys been watching anything? Anything on your guys' ends that are worth mentioning here today on the episode?
Yeah, I like that.
Thanks.
I've had a few things.
Okay.
I spent most of the last week racing to be ready for the Academy Awards that have now passed. So I did see a bunch of Oscar nominees in various categories right at the tail end, of which the couple that I want to just kind of mention briefly, I won't give any of them a full-on worth mentioning review, but the ones that I want to sort of touch on are To Leslie and Blonde, both of which were nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role, as well as Bardo Something Something Something, which was nominated for cinematography and has a title that's like a 17-word clause.
Wait, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, right?
That sounds correct, yes.
It might as well be.
It was called Barnacle.
Barnacle.
Bardo.
Yes.
Oh,
Bardo.
Bardo.
False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths.
Wow, I'm looking at my
Andra
cheat sheet.
Gonzalez
Oh,
Iñárritu.
there it is. Yep, I see it. Bardo. Okay.
So I'll be chatting about those briefly. I don't want to go into too much detail, but what about yourself, Brennan? Have you seen anything?
Oh yeah. So I just moved in early February, so I fell behind on everything that was in theaters, and I am caught up on everything now except for Ant-Man because I'll get to it. I'm not encouraged to rush to the theaters to see Ant-Man. But the one that I want to bring today is, of course, Scream 6, because I am the world's #1 Scream boy.
If you hadn't brought Scream 6 to the table, I would have asked you about Scream 6. So it's just as well.
Exactly. Look, even if I didn't bring it to the table, it would have come up. It's every conversation in the past 2 days for me has involved Scream 6 to some capacity.
Okay.
Well, it would have come up because that is what I also brought, which was Scream
Really?
6. So I am excited and afraid to know if I'm right or wrong in my perspective on this movie, because I do feel like, Brennan, whatever you're going to say is right. I'm just going to call that. So I'll assume that if I have a
Yes, you're
different
correct.
opinion than you, that I'm just wrong, just flat out wrong. But that's the one I brought out too. Rob and I went out on a little date night a couple days ago or over the weekend, and went to go see it. So still riding either a high or low. I won't tell you until later on said movie. So let's just jump in then. Tim, tell us about, you said you caught up on.
So the big
Bardo.
ones that I wanted to get to, I think the one that I need to talk about the least is To Leslie, which I've mentioned on the podcast a couple times at this point, being just sort of really pleased, regardless of the movie's quality or regardless of the performance, that I the whole controversy about Andrea Riseborough getting nominated because she has friends and she asked her friends, "Hey, would you vote for me, friend?" And then they said, "Sure." And some people online are like pissed off that this means that people who had big studio movies attached didn't get nominations. That is dumb, and I think that people who think that are bad, like on a moral level. So basically, I was happy that Andrea Riseborough got nominated. Having seen the film, it's a good performance. Is it one of the year's 5 best performances? No. Did the performances at Dislodge, were they the year's 5 best performances? Not really. It is a boring movie. It is a movie whose plot in every detail has been made several dozen times. It is about a woman who has a problem with, as they say, Carrie, sauce.
Which one?
If you know what I mean. The kind that is booze.
Oh, okay.
She has a problem with the booze sauce.
Oh, boy.
So she's managed to piss away a $190,000 lottery windfall. Completely alienated her young adult son. He's 19 years old, and is basically just kind of flopping her way across Texas somewhere, being out of control and sort of fucking up and being drunk and burning every bridge she has access to until about midway through the film, when she sort of ends up washed up at this rural hotel run by Mark Maron. And I think that's how you pronounce his name. Actually, I have no idea. Maron. Okay. And is offered the opportunity to write herself. Will she do so? Will she not? Those are the options, and we know how both of them play out. So the movie itself is quite just straightforward. It's a very basic addiction drama. Riseborough's great in it. Like, I think she's doing a lot of really good work. She's using an American accent that I never, ever stop to remind myself this is not the way that this woman actually sounds. Going for really big moments, going for really small moments. It's really a showcase film. And insofar as it showcased an actress that I like, I think it did a good job. Do I recommend the movie itself? Not really. Only if you are, like me, someone who collects Andrea Riseborough performances and Best Actress nominees alike. That's pretty much the reason to go see it. But the movie has no news, sadly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I am happy to hear that she built a ground up American accent that is satisfying, because definitely even the people who are really good at them usually have a tell. Like whenever Portia de Rossi says the word anything, she says it anything. And
yeah, no, I don't know that it's the single best I've ever heard, but it was really good. Like it was really, really good. I did not I was never thrown out of the performance for that reason.
And where is she from?
I believe she's English.
Yeah, she's from Tim Britton.
Oh, different.
I'm just so mad. I'm so mad.
We'll see how she says her name. That's probably how she says it. Maybe that's my problem. I'm part Britain.
Could well be.
Yeah.
Other movie I just want to quickly touch on, Bardo with a subtitle. It's gorgeous. It is easily my favorite of the 5 nominees for Best Cinematography. It's not even close as far as that goes. But it is basically Iñárritu remaking 8.5, like very directly in some cases. There are scenes that are note for note remakes of 8.5. And it is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, and it shouldn't be. Like, it's just not even close to justifying a 2 hour and 40 minute runtime. So that also falls under my category of this movie was boring. Worth seeing if you like pretty movies, worth seeing also, again, if you collect Oscar nominations. Pretty solid performances, but not world beater performances. So I would have a hard time like pushing certainly either view towards Bardo. But
yeah,
the movie,
I'm a kind of a staunch Iñárritu, not hater, but just I'm very cold on his films, even the ones that people like. So
I like 2 of them a lot, and I don't like the others at all. So like I'm a real hot and cold, and this one is probably the first like middleweight one I've seen of his, honestly.
And that just sounds unpleasant.
I get
middleweight Iñárritu, like
exactly.
At the height of his powers, it's like, oh well, okay, I see what you're doing.
But you know what movie's not boring? Also 2 hours and 40 minutes long. Feels like it should be boring because it's a biopic of Marilyn Monroe. Blonde, a Netflix original directed by Andrew Dominik, starring Ana de Armas, who is nominated for Best Actress for playing Marilyn Monroe. It is a remarkable collision of very good things and very bad things and really incredible visual ideas and really tacky, terrible, very poor taste ideas. I really responded to it. I will not say that I liked it. I will not say that I loved it because I don't know that either of those are true. It gave me a ton to think about. It is very much the story about Norma Jean Baker, the real life name of the woman who on screen was known as Marilyn Monroe. Basically, that every moment of her career was her forced to make compromises with herself or choosing to make compromises with herself and being abused emotionally or physically by everyone around her. And how she basically was just this deeply, deeply unhappy person who died young. She died at 36, basically because the weight of the film industry was choking her to death. And at a certain point, she couldn't put up with it. So real up movie, real fun way to spend 2 hours and 40 minutes just watching someone suffer. But fantastic performance by Ana de Armas, really strange and mannered and idiosyncratic in ways that Oscar nominations don't go for performances like that. So I was really happy to see that. But I think the movie itself is just this wild assemblage of things. And there's not really a plot. Like the story kind of proceeds from 1949 to 1962, but it's not like there's an arc. It just kind of is like, now we're here, now we're here, now we're here. And every time we stop someplace, there's some new like wild collection of visuals built around this sort of very strange mannered impersonation of Marilyn Monroe. It is a movie for people who, like me, and I think this describes neither of you, enjoy watching movies that make us feel very bad, but in intellectually productive ways.
That's a fair assessment. I think Brennan's like in the middle, probably that he's willing to feel bad.
Yeah,
I think he's closer
definitely in
to
the middle.
you.
I'm closer to Carrie, but like in the sense of that something like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre wants me to feel bad, I will eat that up. But other films that are more punishing in some of the ways that Tim likes, I'm not on board with.
Yeah, this is what if Gaspar Noé directed an American biopic.
Oh,
And
no.
and I love that. I get excited by that thought.
I don't even know
I
what
get
that
other people
means.
aren't.
What does that even mean? So are you saying that Marilyn Monroe is like sitting there like eating out of like a chair that's shaking her because she can't swallow food? Like what? How does Gaspar know?
That would be David Cronenberg, not Gaspar
Oh,
Noé.
shoot. I thought that was a good pull. What did Gaspar Noé do? I feel like I've
The
just-
only thing you've even heard of that would have been Lux Eterna.
Oh, wait, but I like that one.
That's
Right?
true, you did.
Ish.
Maybe you should see Blonde.
Maybe
you
I
see
should.
Blonde, Carrie.
Wait, so
I think you'll love it.
is he bringing in the weirdness of the movie like that into this biopic?
There's not nearly that much weirdness. It's more that the film proceeds from the assumption that every human being is cruel, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Oh, the hopelessness thing. Okay.
The hopelessness thing.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I do.
So funny dinner conversation that we literally had just like 30 minutes ago. Last night we played an Oscars game of in our family who was going to guess the most correct movies, and whoever won got to pick like the next movie we would watch, and it was supposed to be punishing, like something that they knew that the other people probably wouldn't want to watch, and so. Well, spoiler alert, I didn't win. I took second place by 1. So
That's great.
the person that did win picked, we can eat with the kids. So this is with our children. We can either watch The Ring. We can watch Stranger Things. I have an 8-year-old here. Okay. So all of these.
Stranger Things is like, you can't count that. That's TV.
Yeah.
That's too long.
It's too long, but it's also intense for an 8-year-old. So The Ring, so scary.
It's less intense than the Stranger Things is less intense than The Ring, though. Like that's
Obviously.
of those two. Yeah.
Fair. But then the third one was Titanic. And I was like, nope, we're going to definitely have to watch Stranger Things. And they're like, oh, man, but what if we watch a movie? And I was like, we're watching The Ring. Like, I was like, sorry, kids. And they're like, you're going to show us The Ring that you said that was like the scariest movie you've ever seen? And I was like, yeah, I will take fear over tragedy any day. I was like, I will not watch Titanic again.
Outraged by what you're doing to your children by discouraging them from watching Titanic.
I think I'm creating a weird, like, there's definitely something weird. I'm recognizing that now it's like there is a aversion, like, like I just can't do it. I just can't get over the hump. So as the kids are like, now it's becoming a thing. They're like, come on, we really want to watch it. It's the anniversary. Like, we really want to see it. It can't be that bad. And I'm like, now I feel like I've even morphed the movie in my brain to maybe even be worse than it was because I'm so afraid of watching it. So I was like, they're like, well, isn't it just people that die? And I was like, well, no, I think there were horses on the boat and like maybe dogs. And there were like small kittens that all went down too. And I'm like trying to like create fear in them to see it. And I realized that's like a terrible parenting strategy, but I'm like, I also don't want them to ever see it. And I want to scare them off. So I'm like, oh yeah, the puppies die. It's like, so, and that's probably not true.
For the record, there is a horse that dies in the ring.
Oh, you shoot. Yeah, there is a horse. I thought you meant
rather horribly, in fact.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know.
So I hope you show them the scene where the horse dies, and while they're bawling and crying so hard that they're choking and coughing, you're like, just think of how much worse it would have been if you'd watched Titanic.
I know. But I think my kids are just terrible people. They're like, I was like, honestly, there's going to be a scene where this older couple's holding hands and they're like saying goodbye to each other, and they're like, meh, that sounds fine. Like,
but there's also a great scene where a guy hits a propeller.
There's a scene where a guy hits a propeller and it goes quang.
Quang. Yeah. They'd probably be fine with this whole thing. I think they have Rob's genetics.
I think you have allowed who you were when you were 13 to dictate what you think Titanic is.
Yeah.
To a degree that is robbing you and your family of one of the great achievements of modern popcorn cinema.
I know, but if we're being really honest, I'm not that far off from who I was when I was 13. No,
That's fair.
To be fair. So anyway, that was a long digression to let you know that my choices in movies will always steer away from sadness. So you were right.
Yeah, no, I am 100% confident that neither of you would enjoy Blonde to anything resembling the degree that I did. And I don't even know if I enjoyed Blonde or if I just responded to Blonde.
Yeah, which is why I'm not mad that I did not end up catching up with that before the Oscars.
Yes.
This is true, but you did catch up with something. And did it make you scream?
It did. It also made me cream.
So you liked it? Is that that you liked it?
I want to hear what you think first,
no.
I can't poison your review of Scream 6.
I'm sweating as going up against an expert here. I think it's I did a ranked order. So I've seen 1, 2, 5, and 6. And I think my new favorite order is 1, 6, 2, 5. I think. So I liked it.
So you liked it?
I really liked it a lot. Did you?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
Okay, good.
And you're not wrong to like things. We'll probably discuss this in the Oscars section.
You'll say that. I knew you'd say that, but Tim would judge me. I thought it was I thought the cast was fun. I'm really into I think it's Melissa Barrera. That's the older sister. Yeah. And Jenna Ortega. I'm just all over everything she's doing right now. I'm loving Wednesday. I love everything she does. But I just thought this was super, super fun. I thought the kills were like killer. And I thought it was like a little bit twisty. I didn't think the end was twisty. That was kind of predictable. But I liked the twisty ways in which we were like, that the kills happened. I didn't anticipate all of those things. Like, I thought it was pretty good and pretty gory. Overall, I thought it was really good.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I remember. No, never mind. But yeah, so basically, for those who have not seen the ad campaign for Scream 6, Neve Campbell is no longer there because they did not want to pay her as much as she asked for. But pretty much everyone else is. We follow the 4 main survivors of Scream 2022 to New York City. This includes sisters Sam and Tara Carpenter, played by Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, and also twins Chad and Mindy Meeks Martin, played by Mason Gooding and Jasmine Savoy Brown. Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers is in the mix. Hayden Panettiere as Kirby from Scream 4 is in the mix. She supposedly died, but now she's back. And this is the first time that Scream has pulled that trick, and I am nervous about what that means for the future, but she does a fine job coming back. So that was cool.
Before you go too much further, do they in any way indicate how she didn't die in 4? Or do we just accept that she didn't die in 4?
We just accept that she didn't die in 4. She survived a much more survivable wound than David Arquette survives in the first 3 Scream movies.
That's fair.
So it's kind of not without precedent in the universe of Scream.
Okay.
And we never follow up with Kirby in Scream 4. So she could have lived, I mean, frankly, any of them could have lived. She's just the one they picked because people liked her. But yeah, so she's back. Basically, we're in New York City. There is a brand new Ghostface killer on the prowl. And there's meta slasher shenanigans. Basically, I both am and am not an easy lay for a new Scream film, because I get really in my head about it, in the sense of like I'm really excited for it to exist, but I also am really nervous that it's going to be terrible, because let me tell you, not every Scream movie is great. I have a good time with all of them.
I'll edit that out. I'll edit that out. No one will ever know you said that.
No, I mean, my rating of Scream 3 changes every time I watch it, but I usually settle around a 2.5 stars. So look, I've said my piece about certain Scream movies. But anyway, so that is to say, I'm always super hyped about a Scream movie, but I like to think I can come at it in a more objective way than someone who's like, it is a movie in this franchise, so I will like it. Anyway, so there are flaws in this movie. It's not a perfect movie. Weirdly, I mean, in a way that, because the Scream franchise is so meta, that you can almost point at them and say that some of them are on purpose, because it shares a lot of the same flaws that the original 1997 Scream 2 has in terms of structure and various things. I'm not spoiling anything. I have no interest in spoiling it. But in a similar way, the meta angle kind of takes a back burner, which I think is why Tim might like it a little more than the average Scream movie. Okay. But we'll have to see. I will say the Scream films are, chock full of horror references. That's the thing that they do. This one is not free of that. But on top of that, I think this is the funniest movie in the series. Like, in terms of a pound for pound, talented actors delivering punchlines, I think it is actually the Scream movie that I would not hesitate to call a comedy. Whereas even the first Scream, it is a satirical horror film more than it is a ha-ha funny movie. But this one has a lot of actual, I laughed at that moments, and I really enjoyed that. I would say, as far as acting, Dermot Mulroney's in this. He's a little camp in this movie, I would say. Yeah. But as far as the leads, Jasmine Savoy Brown is excellent. Melissa Barrera is quite a bit better than she was in the previous one, and Jenna Ortega is just a little bit worse than she was in the previous one.
I agree with that.
I'm so glad. Yeah, not film breakingly so, but there are certain moments where I was like, oh, why are you the one who kind of blew up out of this cast?
Yeah, I already found her to be the weak link in the last film, so that is not a quick sketch of her performance that I'm excited to hear.
Yeah. I would say, because this is a movie that's so jam-packed with characters, Jen Ortega does not eclipse the plot in any sort of major way. They spend a pretty equal amount of time with everyone. So it's certainly not film ruining. I'd be very curious to hear what you think, Tim, once you finally get a chance to see it.
Hopefully soon. At this point, it's kind of a question of which of the many films I need to catch up with get priority. In my heart, I'm most excited to see 65, but I know that Creed 3, Scream 6, and Cocaine Bear all quote unquote matter more. So the order in which I see those 4 movies is currently very much up for grabs.
Yeah, and I assume it just depends on showtimes and bus schedules and whatnot.
Also that.
That
but
is
yeah,
true.
no, I can't wait. I think there's a chance you will enjoy this film to some degree, which is not always.
I liked 5. I mean, I flat
Okay.
out liked 5.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so okay, that's good because I think Scream 6 has a very different mission than 5 does, but I think its strengths and its qualities are very similar.
Okay.
And I will say, as far as the kind of new ensemble that they bring in, one of the new characters is played by Jack Champion, who played the human adopted child Spider in Avatar: The Way of Water, and I think he is very funny in this
Which
movie.
one
I
is
think he
he?
did a great job. Jack Champion, he plays the kid with curly hair, Ethan, the roommate of Chad,
Oh,
the
yeah,
Mason
yeah.
Gooding character.
Oh, yeah, he was cute. I'd say the one thing that I thought was different about this from 5 is 5, I felt like played on so many jokes over and over again, making jokes about the Scream franchise to be funny. And this, I feel like, didn't lean on that as much. This leaned on its own humor, like just sort of standalone humor about horror tropes and murders and kills, but less about like joking about how campy the Scream series is as a whole. So I don't know. I agreed that this was super funny, and I didn't think it was relying on like the same old jokes. It felt like it was a little bit new and inventive there too.
Yeah, which is interesting because so much of the plot, as like the basic structure of the plot as shown in the trailer, is looking back at the history of the Scream franchise, but that's not really. It is definitely less navel gazy than Scream 2022 was.
Agreed.
Okay, that does sound like an appealing thing for me.
If you are navel gazy, is that people are wearing crop tops?
Yes.
I wish everyone was wearing a crop top in this movie. But no, navel gazing just means kind of like just it's like staring at yourself in the mirror and considering all of the qualities of oneself.
Ah, okay. Okay. I've never heard that term before. Thank you for the enlightening commentary.
You're so welcome.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad that we agree. I'm excited to talk now a little bit about the Oscars. But before we do, let's head to a break. And before we head to the break, you might be wondering about ways to support the show. You can join our Patreon, get early access and exclusive content, make us watch a movie, pick your own episode, topic, and more from our Patreon site, just like Jack Rosen, who already was a patron but decided to upgrade to the Emmy Award level, giving him access to exclusive TV reviews, early access to classic movie reviews, podcast shout out, and so much more. So thank you, Jack, for that. Also, coming up this month, we got to get the date locked down, but I don't know about you guys, I have a hankering for a bad movie night. So I think be on the lookout for a poll on Patreon to pick the flick for us, but want it to be as bad as possible. Just throwing that out there. I need a good laugh.
I'm gonna push for Titanic.
I will not come. I'll have to get like a
will,
bot. I
if
will.
you know what I mean.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Kate Winslet's topless one scene.
I know. It is so sexy. Gosh, that's the only thing I want to go back for. You know what? Now that I think about it, maybe what I could do is just like watch up to a certain point and then I'll just turn it off. Maybe that's what I'll do. We'll see. I don't know. But be on the lookout for that on our Patreon site. Also want to thank everybody who supports us by making their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Go to our website, alternateending.com, click through our Amazon banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we will be covering our 100% accurate review of the 95th Academy Awards. And welcome back. We're here with two of my favorite people talking about one of my 30th favorite nights of the year, maybe, the Academy Awards, the 95th of them. We're here to talk about our thoughts, our reactions, all of our feelings about the dresses, the whole thing. But before we jump into the nitty gritty of all of it, scale of 1 to 10, last year being a 0. And this year being like, gosh, best case scenario, you're out to dinner with Harrison Ford and Ke Huy Quan. Where did this fall for you? So that's 10. Dinner with Harrison Ford, 1 being last year. Where did this fall for you, Brennan, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I don't think I would want to have dinner with Harrison Ford. I don't think he'd be a very good conversational
He would be an
companion.
extremely unpleasant person. He would be the one who's like constantly bitching at the wait staff about how they don't have like the exact like flavor of white toast he wants to eat.
No. Well, Ke Huy Quan is there as well. So you're there with both of them. So call it a balanced thing. Maybe they're reminiscing about old times. Maybe they're talking about like that time when somebody hit the gong and there was a poison and like, they're talking about the whole thing and they're so excited and you're just in on it at dinner. And that's why it's a 10.
I literally can't even visualize Harrison Ford being excited.
Oh boy. All right. Well, let's call it Ana de Armas. You're out to dinner.
Maybe Harrison Ford is so high that he's sleeping and I'm just talking to Ke Huy Quan the whole time. Maybe that's what I need.
That is your number 10. Yes. So that's the 10. Harrison Ford's passed out at the table, and then you're having dinner with Ke Huy Quan. So what's your ranking of this Academy Awards?
Okay.
So 0 was last year's ceremony?
Yes.
Then my ranking is -2 because I like last year's ceremony better. So the entire thing feels a little bit of a weird exercise to
This
me.
is a weird exercise because it's the weirdest answer, but we'll get there. Brennan, what about you?
I think that this is I don't know if I could give it a number, but I think this is kind of the most I would expect from a default Oscars. Like it didn't have any like major highs or major lows. Like the slap, that was a major low for me just because it was a great moment of TV. It was a great electric moment of like the world coming together to be like, what the fuck just happened? But it was just a really miserable bit of discourse that we had to sit through for months and months. And that's not that great. Like, whereas the La La Land Moonlight thing, that is peak Oscars telecast. Mm-hmm. That is maniac nonsense, and that was great.
And / Moonlight was on par with the Streaker or like Brando refusing his Oscar. Like that is the level that was at.
Yeah, so that's at least where my mind is at, and this didn't have any of that kind of high or low. Mm-hmm. But look, it was Oscars. It had clips. I love it when they have clips. When they don't have clips, I get very upset. And I guess it's like a 6 or a 7, I guess.
Okay. And I am much more in line with Brennan. I was going to give this one, originally I was going to be like, it's a 10. And now I feel self-conscious. So I'm going to be like, you know what? It's probably a 7.5, a 7.5, maybe to an 8. So I had read an article. I was thinking everybody was going to be super excited about it. I'm very easily swayed. And I read an article today about how it was just like the most like basic Oscars ever. Like their main mission was to have as little controversy, as little drama, as little anything. So it was like so basic. And I guess that's what I liked about it. I was just not in the mood for any sort of like drama. I just was so desperate for normalcy that I felt like even if everyone thought Jimmy Kimmel was kind of boring and basic and like it was just his comedy routine that he would do on his show, I was like, well, kind of like his comedy routines on his show. And like nobody was like over the top with their speeches in terms of like doing anything wacky that we could talk about the next day. And so it was like, I kind of liked that.
Because Frances McDormand wasn't there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Exactly. And I was like, you know, Tom Cruise wasn't there. Like a lot of the people that could have been like the wild cards weren't there. And part of me was just like, you know what? It's nice just to have like a basic awards ceremony for me personally. So that's where I landed at, just like hoping for normalcy and no one getting beat up was where I was at.
See, I'm 100% the opposite. To me, the slap was the only interesting thing that has happened on an Oscars telecast since La La Land winning. I watch live TV because I want to see car crashes. I find a well-oiled machine where nothing goes very right and nothing goes very wrong terribly dull. And Jimmy Kimmel is just like a white noise generator to me. So I barely watched the ceremony. Like I sort of perked up to look to see who was winning, but I mostly was just chatting with people like during the entire 3.5 hours of it. I found it it was like having a piece of white toast, and you're like, "Where's the butter for this white toast?" And they said, "Oh no, butter makes you fat. It's a sauce."
Oh,
So I'm
it's
just sitting there, like gently gnawing on dry white toast, hoping that my spit at least like gives it enough texture to make it like chewable.
that is fair. Although, as a whole wheat bread eater, I love a piece of white toast. Like when I get a piece of white toast, I'm just like, ugh. Just
Well,
like
you've
the
already
lack
told
of...
us that you like Jimmy Kimmel's show, so I could guess that.
I don't even watch his show, but like if I do see clips like on the side, I'm like, oh, he's kind of funny. Like he doesn't.
That's
yeah.
like Kimmel is a more talented figure than the other Jimmy. Is it Fallon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he is not off-putting in the way that Jimmy Fallon is off-putting, but for that exact reason, he makes less of it. He slides off of my brain.
Yes. And
It's
that's
like
fair.
I can't like grab a hold of him. He's just he's a wisp.
Yes.
And like I'm grabbing and the wisp has already floated off.
Oh, I love wisps. Gosh,
Yeah.
I love wisps. Yeah, I completely agree. But with the party that you were with, did you guys all do like a prediction pool? Did everybody have to guess the number, and did you select a winner upon that?
Of course, we did all these things.
I wonder
did
if I
not-
beat you. I did really well, but let me tell.
I did not do really well now.
Okay, expert on film studies person. How many did you accurately predict?
I only got 16.
Oh, okay. Well, he did pretty well. I think that's pretty good, actually. I mean,
How
it
many,
seems
how many did you get, casual moviegoer?
I got 15, and I consider myself to be one of the most ethical people I know, because I'll tell you what happened. I could feel my anxiety rising because, like, Rob beats me at everything. Like, everything. Like, I just never win. He's like irritatingly good at everything. Like, and it gets like more annoying with time and age that I can't supersede him in anything. So we're playing along. The first like 10 categories out of the gate, I was up like 8-3 or something like that. And I was just riding the high. I was just like, gosh, I'm just like such an expert. Like I'm so good. And he's the type of person who goes out and like researches. Like he researches. I went just off my heart and soul. I did not copy anything. He thought I was copying off of you, Tim, for a while because I was doing so well. And I was like, I did not look at his article on purpose with his predictions because I didn't want to cheat. So I was doing so well. And then somewhere around midway, starts to take a turn, and I went way too all in on All Quiet on the Western Front, and it started to screw me in the end at the second half. He starts pulling ahead. So anyway, the very end of it, we're doing the count up, and I had already done the math in my head, and I was getting a little like irritable. Rob's like, you seem a little like grouchy and tense. And I was like, it's fine. I was like, if everyone could just quiet down, I just can't hear anything. Like I was getting a little snappy at the end of it. And I did the math in my head, and I was like, at the end, Alice was like, well, Mommy and Daddy, you tied. You both had 15. And I was like, really? But in my mind and in my heart, I already had counted that he had 16. And Rob was like, oh, good job. And I was like, oh, do I just let it go and take like a false victory, or do I like take the ballot? So I took the ballot. I counted up. I was like, Alice, it's actually 16. You missed one. And I was just like so broken from the whole situation. But I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I was honest. I can feel myself even sweating thinking about it. Like I'm irritated again because I didn't want to lose, but I got 15, but without cheating or reading anybody else's lists.
Oh, that's good.
Brennan,
if it makes you feel any better, I got 11.
It does. It does.
The winner of
actually.
our party got 19.
Ooh, who was
Which
that?
16 felt like a real bummer to me.
Was it a film expert or somebody just random like me?
Well, it was a film grad student.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
They
what
had
does expert
opinions.
mean in that context?
That's true. Who knows? Who really knows? Well, congratulations in your big win. I think 15 and 16 is good. I felt good about it. But I still, next year, I'm going to just try for it again. But anyway, I have a few categories I'd love to talk about and get your perspectives on too. But again, just throw out thoughts, anything that you guys have that you want to talk about it. But I always am drawn to talking about speeches. Do you guys have any thoughts on favorite speeches that you walked away with?
I did have one that I liked. I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was Best Song. I really enjoyed
Oh, the
winners
Carpenters
of Best
song.
It
That
was
was
just
so sweet.
they seemed like such decent people who were just like, holy crap, we just won this big American Film Award. Isn't that nifty? And like There was
Mhm.
no pretense. There was no like the big sort of like putting on a show of having won. There were just two nice old Indian dudes who like won an Oscar. It's like, oh,
They
I like you.
were.
I want to go have waffles with you. I don't even know. You just seemed really chill.
They
I
were
liked
cute. Yeah, they were. That's true. So that was Natu Natu in
it.
RRR.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Mhm.
Their dance routine was also just like, wow, you guys are really in sync. They were just like really like they practiced. I was very
They
impressed.
indeed filmed that very dance routine in the motion picture
RRR.
RRR.
I still need to see that. I've heard it's really good. Have you guys seen RRR?
Oh yeah, I loved RR.
Brennan reviewed RRR on our website.
I haven't read your review
Very.
yet, but I will. And I've heard from a lot of people that I would love it. So I'm like, I got to get out there and see it.
I don't know if you would, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
You
Oh.
don't like musicals, and it's not
No.
only a musical, but it is in part a musical.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but if it's peppy enough, I don't know. I'll
I don't
give it
know.
a shot.
I think you should see it. I think I can definitely see it just bouncing off. I don't know. You should see it.
Okay. Brennan, any favorites
should
for
see it.
you?
As far as speeches, I don't know. Most of the speeches, I just kind of turned my brain off. I thought the editor for Everything Everywhere All at Once was surprisingly hot, and I love it when that happens.
I mean, when
Um,
an editor is surprisingly hot, that is like finding a unicorn in your garden for sure.
Exactly, it's magical. I mean, I thought like the emotion of Ki Hui Kwan's speech was super wonderful. The speech itself, who gives a shit as far as like it's
It-
follow your dreams, like
It to me fell in the genre, and I'm a cynical prick, so I get that. It was the genre of Oscar speech that is, I'm sure you're actually super happy, and I don't want to cut that down. You've won every award, and everyone knew you're winning tonight. So like you've had a chance to get used to the idea of winning. And we get
Uh-huh.
that every single year. One of the four acting winners, who is the inevitable pick, always seems to be surprised they won. And I'm like, just fucking chill.
it,
it was-
it
it was-
proves
it
what
was-
good actors they are.
It proves what good actors they are, exactly.
I
Um,
did have him though listed as my favorite speech. Although this is my cynical side coming out. I was like, why are you yelling at me? Like I felt, and it wasn't even actually just him. It felt like all the people who accepted awards were screaming. And it could be that our volume on our TV was really loud and that I was
That seems
overwhelmed.
to potentially be something you need to look at.
I
into,
need to,
yes.
I need to look at that one. I was like, why are you people yelling at me? And I do realize it was correlating with me starting to lose, that I was getting more irritated by the speeches because I was just like, stop screaming. But I felt like he was just kind of like, I don't know. It just felt a little in your face. But at the same time, I do feel like it was a genuine, like, how did I get here? I never thought this would happen. And it feels like also it was such a comeback for, I'm going to think of a nice way to say it. It was such a comeback for people who had a slump for like 20 years in between. And so I feel like he probably went through some dark times post Temple of Doom. And I just feel like this is the emotion of being like, how did I get up here? And I actually
No, and I
made
mean,
it. Was
that's
big.
like, I'm sure he seems like a very nice human being.
Yeah.
B, I'm sure he's genuinely excited to have had all this award attention, but it's also like, it's like his 8th award. I don't know. Like Jamie Lee Curtis felt more sincere to me than he did in a weird way.
Which is interesting because Jamie Lee Curtis's speech felt very prepared,
Yeah.
but I thought she prepared it well and delivered it well.
See, different. I thought she was screaming at me again. I'm like, lady, what are you doing? Why are you yelling at me? Like, it felt like I thought hers was going to turn more emotional. Like, I thought she would get more like, I thought she would either take some sort of like political commentary or say something like that, or that it would get emotional. And I felt it was more like, this is for all of us.
Surprisingly politically light Oscars, I
I
thought.
think intentional though. I think that was like, again, going back to the fluff ball that was this awards. I think they were like drama free. Like Kimmel stayed away from it. I think all the speeches for the most part stayed away from it. I think there was, a nod maybe to a couple things, but just like ever so slightly. So I bet that was like, I'm sure that was pre-planned for them. But
I don't know.
yeah, so she was actually my worst speech, even though, I don't know, something rubbed me the wrong way. Not worse,
Oh,
but
the worst speech I thought by a landslide was Brendan Fraser.
I was gonna say that too. His weird
What was-
compounding of
what was
whale
like-
metaphors.
Like, let's talk about whales. Let's talk about the sea. Let's like, what
A straw.
are you going about?
I think he was maybe nervous. I think he was very nervous. I don't know.
Sure. But that was like a really complicated, worked out literary metaphor in his speech. So he had a prepped speech,
Yeah.
but it was just like bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was
it was a bad speech.
Hong Chau's depth as a human being swum deeper than the deepest whale or whatever. And it's like, your movie is not about a whale.
It's not about a whale.
The literal whale.
The whale is symbolism in your
You guys, it's so true. And I felt like such a jerk after watching it because I thought everybody else was going to be like, oh, it's so, emotional. He's so nervous or whatever. And I was just like, I thought he was going to have a heart attack. And then because I thought he was like really heavily breathing. Like they needed like a sound guard or something like that on the mics because it was like, like into the thing. I thought he was going to pass out, which then in turn was like spiking my own stress because I was like, well, this man's going to go down and this is going to be really tragic. And then, yeah, all the weird metaphors. I was so disappointed in that one only because he had accepted another award earlier this year and really had done a much more like touching speech about like, the darkness that
about not
exists.
whales.
About not whales and about not like a straw that goes down and there was a little bit of air coming out at the top. Like he didn't go there with it. He went into more of like how dark it really can be and to like actually come out of the darkness, and to be here, like how much it meant to him. And people loved it because that is true. Like I'm sure he had some hard times. So anyway, I thought that's the direction he was going to go and it didn't. And I was just like, I didn't even get a good tearjerker.
It was to me like Joaquin Phoenix accepting for Joker levels of what are you fucking talking about? Like what is happening in your brain in this moment? Because I can't follow your thoughts at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, best actor speeches tend to be more erratic on average because we got that Matthew McConaughey one a couple of years ago too.
Well, McConaughey was presumably just stoned.
Well, yeah, but I feel like that's the place where you're gonna get a weird speech if it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, we're on the same page there. Would love to know if you guys kind of had to think about which ones you were most happy about. Like if there were any that you were like, oh, I'm so glad this won. Were there any that stood out for you guys? Maybe even in some of the smaller categories, which again, glad that they brought them back. Were there any that you were like, yes, you deserve this and I'm excited about it?
Not really, no.
No. The answer is no.
I think the Ke Huy Quan win, that's who I would have voted for as like the best supporting performance of the year by an actor. So that's the one that I would kind of throw my weight behind. And I don't know. Look, this podcast has been established. The flag has been planted as a kind of anti everything everywhere all at once space. And I am here to open the window, dust out the cobwebs, kind of let a little light in. I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once quite a bit. It is not a movie that I think deserves any Oscars, really.
You think it deserves at least one Oscar, it sounds like.
Yeah, okay, the Ke Huy Quan. But like in terms of like Best Picture, that it was my favorite movie on the Best Picture slate, but I wasn't like excited that it won because it's not a movie that I care about that much. It's a movie that I liked quite a bit. But it's a movie that reminds me how much I really liked Swiss Army Man more than it is a movie that I like in itself.
That is real. That is fair. I will say, to give Carrie's question a little bit more real of an answer, there were 2 out of 23 categories where the thing I would have voted for won. And those would be Avatar for visual effects and Black Panther 2 for costuming. I certainly think that Michelle Yeoh winning for Everything Everywhere is an entirely just outcome. I would have voted for Cate Blanchett. Michelle Yeoh is very good. Like she's very, very good in that role. And unlike Cate Blanchett, she does not already have 2. So like that's not one that I can feel terribly bad about. I think that's my list. I think it's those are the 3 that I was like, yes, that feels like a good thing happened here.
I was a little disappointed. So I was glad that Ke Huy Quan won, but I really wanted Judd Hirsch to win for supporting actor from The Fabelmans. He's so old.
See, in that category, like Brendan Gleeson is one of my 5 or 10 favorite living actors, and what he did in Banshees is, I think, one of his 2 or 3 best performances. So I was riding super hard for him, and I knew he was going to lose.
Yeah,
but, like
he was really good.
It was like in my top 3 or 4 performances nominated for an Oscar.
Do you think there's a possibility, and I can't tell if this is going to be offensive to you or not, but I did think it. So I did watch The Banshees of Inisherin, per your recommendation that I would love it until I hated it, which I know the exact...
Do you know what moment I was identifying as the pivot?
Yes. And I was wrong about the penguin. It wasn't a penguin that passes
It was
away.
not a penguin.
That was
I told you it wasn't a penguin.
very tragic. Very, very tragic. Although I will say I was a little bit bored for the rest of the movie. I wouldn't say it's a movie I loved. But is there a possibility that in 20 years you are going to look exactly like Brendan Gleeson?
God willing.
Okay, good.
I don't think I live a pure enough lifestyle to be so blessed by our good Lord.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that was a compliment before I said it, but I was like, when I look at him, I'm like, this is Tim in 20 years. This is for sure.
Oh, Carrie.
Yeah.
That's literally the nicest thing you've said to me on this podcast.
Gosh. Well, I'm glad. I'm going to say these things more often.
I am going to tell my boyfriend that you think I'm going to grow up to look like Brendan Gleeson, and we'll see what he says about that.
See, do a side by side. I think you'll see it. If you did one of those like aging apps, I think you would just pop right into his face. So I'm glad
that's
you
so
took
kind
it.
of you.
He
I
is
feel bad
very
about
cute.
everything I've ever said about your looks now.
I know. That time that you told me, I can't even think of an actress that you've compared me to before, but let's not think about it now. Let's not do that now.
I'll come up with good ones. I promise I'll start coming up with really good ones.
Is it Kate Winslet? You could say that. That would be great. But yes, I thought that movie was okay. It was fine. I liked the premise of it, but it was just so for me. But yeah, I did want Judd Hirsch to win. And then I'm trying to think. There were a couple other ones that I was kind of so on too. I had voted for Michelle for Everything Everywhere All at Once, even though I know you had said Tar probably was one that you had thought. But what did you guys think about the animated feature winner this year?
I mean, I think it's a good movie. I think it's indeed a very good movie. I knew it was going to win, but I really wanted Puss in Boots to win, so that one feels like a little bit of a letdown to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted Puss in Boots to win
Puss
too.
Puss is so good.
It really is. It is.
It
so
shouldn't
alarming.
be as good as it is. It is wrong that Puss in Boots is as good as it is.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
The kids saw it. They voted for it. And I was like, nope. With a name like Guillermo, you're going to win. So I voted for that.
They love Guillermo del Toro, obviously. And they gave nominations to the very boring and bad Nightmare Alley. So
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Well, good. I have a couple other questions because I know I've got answers to them. So I like to throw them to you first. But any favorite moments? And this is aside from speeches. So put the speeches aside, put the famous people aside. I mean, well, no. I mean, everybody's famous that's there. But put some of the like the actual like winners and that stuff, the speeches aside. Any other favorite moments from the award ceremony?
I sincerely cannot think of
I've got, like,
anything
a
that
whole
falls
list.
outside of those categories that I can even remember happening.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
What about that? Okay, you go ahead, Brennan. You're going to say something.
Yeah, I got 2.5 things.
Okay.
I do think the ceremony peaked with that awkward look that Andrew Garfield gave the camera when Jimmy Kimmel said that Spider-Man was going to defend him if someone tried to slap him.
Oh yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, I thought that was
I
good.
missed that. I must have been looking at something else.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was very quick.
It was the middle of Jimmy Kimmel's monologue, so you were right.
Yeah, I don't even know if I was in the room. I might have been rooting around for a beer at that point.
Smart move. And I thought that I think Elizabeth Banks somehow saved an atrocious Cocaine Bear bit. Her voice had been stolen by Ursula the Sea Witch, and she was still funny.
It is incredible to me, given how misbegotten that bit was. I think that's what happens when you know that the bit is misbegotten and something clicks with that knowledge. Like, it didn't work, but by God, it should have been a catastrophe. And it merely didn't work. And that's incredible.
You guys didn't
Yeah,
even
and I
call
think that
out
it speaks to...
Oh, you go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think that speaks to her talents as an actor.
Absolutely.
As a director, she is fine. But a great comic actor.
You guys aren't even
100%.
calling out the fall. She almost fell, and then she caught herself.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you were going to go into. I was like, oh my gosh. She almost fell twice. So she starts coming out. She takes like a little bit of a stumble. So like the off camera coming in angle, you can tell that she's like
Mhm.
not on solid footing. But then she like regains her footing, takes another like 5 steps and trips over her dress. And somehow, some way, she like does not fall. Like there's just 100% chance that I would be on my face on those heels
Yeah.
in that huge dress and whatever. And she recovers and then recovers enough to even like walk into that speech with the giant bear next to her and like crack a joke about it and just move on. And I thought the same thing. I was like, what a badass. I would be like
Yeah.
sweating because I'm so like embarrassed and nervous and whatever. And she didn't miss a beat.
Did
The
not.
universe really threw everything to prevent that hacky bit from coming on stage, and she prevailed. And my half thing is that I generally liked the aesthetics of the Oscars this time around.
They were very clean.
Yeah, they were very clean.
It can be very gaudy, and this year they were just very sensible and elegant.
Yeah, I liked the marquee showing the names of the winners. I liked this is something that I would find very annoying in the room, but I liked the way that the lights on the back of the bench seating matched what was going on the video screens. And I even liked the kind of like weird transparent PNG file situation that they had going on of just like sticking the faces of the nominees like behind the presenters.
I liked that. I think that was a nice, like, the visual montagey thing. Is it cheesy? Yeah, but the Oscars are. I thought that was a nice thing. I'd like to see that come back.
Yeah, me too. I liked everything about the kind of just the presentation of how it looked.
Yeah.
I didn't notice any of that. I didn't notice anything that you guys are talking about at all right now.
Like every time, certainly for the acting nominations, I think for the others as well, they did like montages of faces, like of the nominees, or like clips
okay.
from,
Yeah,
not clips, but, like stills from
Sure.
a sort of like collage thing.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I guess so. I didn't really
Very
notice
clean
that.
looking.
What I thought you guys were going to say. I keep trying to read your minds, and I'm like, we're all going to be like, yeah, that's the best part, and then you're not. We're not there. But I thought you guys were going to say the in memoriam. I thought they did an excellent job on number one. Remember in the past, like a couple of years past, it's been like a half a second slideshow where like the face pops up and it's already like moved on before you can read the name. And this year, by like having the side by side, I think they were able to keep the time condensed by doing kind of the side by side. But I also noticed that they really, really honored everybody. Like in years past, they've been like, oh, maybe they've skipped some people who were like behind the scenes or whatever, like editing or whatever. And this year it feels like they really pulled out some deep pulls. Like there was just everybody was out there. And a lot of people died. So it was very
A
sad.
lot of people died.
I know. Very tragic, but I thought that they did a good job with that.
I certainly think the in memoriam segment was better than it has been recently. I don't like when they have someone singing. I think it should be an instrumental.
I mean, he was
Oh,
playing
that's
piano.
a great point.
That's
Except
true.
for when they had Jennifer Hudson sing that original song from Smash. That was a great time. But no, you're right, because it's always weird. And then Lenny Kravitz was just wearing sunglasses and being Lenny Kravitz, and it's just distracting.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, I think he gave
Yeah.
he was not giving a look at me performance, and some of them have. Like, there have been some look at me
Yeah.
performances. But I just inherently, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And I did not love the side by side thing that they were doing in terms of like one of them is blurry and we're going to kind of refocus. I thought that was one of the more ugly things that they presented, but it was efficient.
It was efficient. I think that was the key. I think they were like, how do we
We
fit 'em
we
all in?
stand an efficient in memoriam segment.
Exactly.
That's
Although, again, I love clips. I could have stood for some more clips.
I did
I
too.
wanted more clips, and the clips they chose, it seemed sort of random who got them.
Yes, they did not give one to Olivia Newton-John.
They
but
did not give one to Olivia Newton-John, and they gave one to Irene Cara. And like, God love Irene
Yeah.
Cara, she deserved one, but
Mhm.
she was not one of the foremost clip-deserving people who was in that montage.
Yeah, and also the clip that they chose, she was in like half of it, and then the rest
Right.
was just people dancing on the street.
Well, I think it's because she did the choreography for that film. So not just that
Okay.
she was on screen, but she was actually the choreographer. I
Okay,
think.
okay.
I have a theory on that, though. I think that that was a deliberate move because it felt like the entire awards was about being literally as equitable as possible. So I feel like it was like, let's do a video clip of somebody that you probably don't know, not just like the top 4 people that are on here that passed away, like James Caan or wait, is his name James Caan? Yeah.
His name
Yeah,
is Scott.
Jim Con. Oh yeah, yeah. Which Rob was like, he died. I'm like, of course he died. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I felt like more up to speed than him. All the people that kept popping up, he was like, what? They're gone. But yeah, it was. He hasn't been
just
watching.
the idea that of course James Caan died.
Of
Like,
course.
what do you think this
Of
blood
course,
on my
James
hands
Caan
was?
died. That was exactly the joke I was going.
So if only you got, we should have all watched it together. But I also really thought that Denai Guerrera did a great job, really sort of emanating like the whole experience and the feeling and the grief like of Chadwick Boseman's passing. I thought like her presentation of that was really touching and like heart-wrenching, as well as John Travolta doing or like launching into the in memoriam segment, which of course, Olivia Newton-John was the first one out of the gate. I thought, like, you couldn't look at his face and not be like, I'm just going to cry looking at your face, because he just looked so pained as he was going through it. So it was really, I thought it was sweet that he did it and introduced it.
And I agree with that so far as it goes. I'm not a nice person because I spent the whole time cringed up waiting for him to do some horrible flub, because the last time he was on stage at the Oscars, he called Idina Menzel what was it? Adele
Dazeem.
Adele Dazeem.
We all flub names, okay? We all do. It happens to all of us. He's just a human.
Mean, obviously, like we have firsthand evidence of that this evening, but
I thought it was really touching. I thought it was nice.
Yeah, and if you'll allow me to be even more of an asshole than Tim in this moment,
I wonder if you're about to say what I just elected not to say. I'm curious. Go ahead.
Is it that? Are you also kind of tired about being sad about Chadwick Boseman?
That's what I was going to say, but yes, I am.
Okay, because it's just like it is very sad, but we've been sad about it for 3 years, and I feel
it's our
like
third consecutive Oscar season of being sad about it.
Yeah, I feel like I have healed from this moment, and I understand that the cast and crew of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has not, and that is fine. And like
they made a whole 2.5 hour movie about it. In fact,
yeah, they sure did. But I feel like I have processed this enough.
No, the thing that I was almost going to say, I was like, well, that's just straight up mean. John Travolta's face looks like a hard-boiled egg.
That is mean. That is very mean.
He has a perfectly spheroid face.
What is wrong with having a spheroid face? It would be better
Nothing's wrong with it, except that humans don't.
Wow. Do you think he's had some shaping work done to turn it into an egg?
I hope not. I hope he didn't pay for that.
I
hope that's just the way he's aging.
I think he's aging into an egg, which I think is fine. I think he's probably in his 60s now. He looks good.
Okay.
Oh no.
This is what I'm saying. I don't like to.
I don't agree.
I do like it. I'm sorry. I won't lie. I liked saying that.
I know you did. I know you did.
Gold cylinder-headed man.
I saw the smile on your face. I knew. Well, and then
He's a Scientologist. It's okay to make fun of Scientologists.
I didn't know that.
He is literally the second most famous Scientologist.
Oh boy. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't need to know that. Thanks. I didn't need to know that at all.
So now can we make fun of his looks?
Now
please?
we can make fun of his face. That's fine. It's fine. To get off John Travolta's face for a moment.
Never.
Hang on. Hang on. I need a moment. I also want to call out my best moment of the entire thing. So I've talked a lot about good moments, but this is my best moment. Was the happy birthday to James Martin.
Oh, that was nice. I liked that.
That was
I
sweet.
liked that a ton.
An absolute ton. So James Martin was the star of the live action short film An Irish Goodbye, and everybody getting up there and taking their entire speech to sing happy birthday. I was like, there are good people in the world. And my kids turned to me, Abby in particular turned to me, and she was like, her reaction afterwards, she was like, oh boy, this is about the best day ever for him. This has got to be the best day ever. And I was like, yeah, it is. This is like, that would be so cool. So we teared up at that too and sang a little happy birthday along from home. I thought that was a super sweet moment. Man.
Do you know who didn't have the best day ever?
Who?
Malala.
I was just going to ask you about that. And then I'm like, do I even want to go there? What about the Malala situation? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, go ahead.
Jimmy Kimmel it was obviously setting up a joke that was undermining it, but it's just like Malala is kind of one of those people that you cannot undermine because, and she, sidestepped that. But and that's like whatever. But then the part afterwards where it's like it's clear that this bit fell flat on its face. Malala is not happy to be involved, and then all of a sudden, when he's doing the next part of the bit, the cocaine bear runs up and starts fucking with Malala, and it's like, why did we double down on this?
Yeah.
The cocaine bear coming back was
a thing.
very bad. It was
Rob,
not even fun bad. It was just very bad.
Rob thought it was going to be Matt Damon. He kept being like, I swear to you, I'm going to give you $100. I think Matt Damon is going to jump out of that bear costume and it's going to be amazing. And then he never did. And we're like, no, it's just a bear in a costume that's not really working for anybody right now. But I don't know. This is probably like a controversial opinion because I had read that after Malala's response to the joke that people were praising her online and they were like, oh, good for you. Good for you. And part of me was like, again, maybe controversial. Tell me if I should cut this out. But part of me was like, you're at an awards ceremony. It's a joke. Like, let's just we can smile at least. Like she didn't even smile. Like, let's just smile. We're all having fun here. And it felt like, I only talk about peace. Like we all get that you were like a beacon of peace, but like this is just supposed to be like a light moment. It felt a little, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way, but maybe it shouldn't.
I'm of two minds there because like you're right, but also she's not Hollywood. Like
Right.
That's what you do at these things because you're Hollywood. You get you know how to roll with it. You know the vibes. That's why they never go to like the sound editors and like, hey, let's do a funny sound editing bit. They go to like Martin Scorsese or Helen Mirren, someone who like knows how to do that.
But you don't think that she knew that they were going to come up to her?
I think even if she didn't have enough time to prep for it because she's not an actor. That's not what she does.
Yeah.
Like there's no element in her skill set designed to riff with Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. But just a little laugh, just
and-
even a laugh and like, haha, like eye roll, like let him walk away. But like, I only talk about peace. It just felt so.
She was panicking.
She panicked.
That
like,
was
"Peace."
full ass
Peace.
panic is what we saw on camera.
It was just like, yeah, maybe.
And also someone who obviously has lived through some incredibly tense political environments, but also someone of her age who's like lived online. Like, know that the second you answer that question, like
Yes.
there's going to be a media firestorm around that.
Totally.
You can't like there was no escaping the fallout of answering that question in any way.
Yeah. Which
And-
again, maybe
and
not
what's-
answering, like just a smile. Like, I don't know. She just looked like pissed. She looked so mad that he had asked her that question.
If Jimmy Kimmel tries to get up in my business, I'd be pissed too. So I can't fault her for that.
Would you have said, I only talk about peace? What would your response have been to that question?
I don't even.
I think you would have come up with something clever.
Honestly.
I don't
He asked
actually either.
if Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine at the Don't Worry Darling premiere, which is an old joke also.
Yes. I also remember September of
Yeah.
2022.
She could have easily been like, I would have spit on him. Like that would, I mean, just and then walk
to
away.
me, sort of the cherry on top of all this is the reason she was there was clearly because they thought they were going to win documentary short for Stranger at the Gate, and they were going to pull her up because she was not part of the production team, but she was pushing super, super hard for that film on social media, and they were clearly going to be like, and thank you to Malala and whatever. And then the film lost, which it should have because it's real fucking bad. It's like it's maybe the worst of the short documentary nominees, but also like that just had to make the whole thing just a worse experience. Like you don't get shouted out on the Oscars, and also you get kimmeled.
Yeah,
Just get Kimmel all over you.
that's true.
Yeah, that's a big bummer.
That's true.
And the only answer to that question is I don't care, but Chris Pine can spit on me if he wants.
yeah.
Okay.
So why didn't she just say
If
that?
Malala had said that, I think there would have been a social media firestorm.
Probably.
She would have.
She was white.
I agree. Well, those were my thoughts. Did you guys have any other things that you wanted to share? Before
So
we wrap
many.
up?
I can't believe you forgot to ask the most important basic question, Carrie.
Which one?
Best worst dressed?
Oh boy. Okay. I've got it. I've got the answer. I don't have it written down, but I've got the answer. I think it was Florence Pugh that came out, and somebody was wearing like a white dress with shorts underneath it, and then there was like a
That was
huge,
Florence Pugh.
was it
yes.
Florence Pugh? I was digging Florence Pugh's outfit. I think that's not. I looked on the list of best dress, and she was not there, so that's not like a common opinion. But I was digging her dress, and then I was kind of into Lady Gaga's a little bit when she first walked in, the black one, where you're like, ooh, is that sheer? Is it not sheer? I can't tell. Like, am I going to see something? Am I not? Like, I loved the mystery of it.
It's pronounced Cher.
Cher. Oh,
Sorry, that's a bad joke.
I was like, wait, was it?
I
so
snorted.
yeah,
I'm fine. It's a good joke.
it was good. It was good. So those were my favorites. And then my least favorite, and I'm still reeling about this, is there was this one woman who was wearing like a spaceship outfit that was like completely obstructing at least 30 people's view.
Yeah, the one who
Oh,
was
that
like
veil.
6 feet tall.
I was like, how are you not incredibly self-conscious that you were clearly blocking
And she
30
was
people's
right
views?
behind the Banshees of Inisherin
Yeah.
people, so they kept cutting to her.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
over and over. And it was like at least 2 feet above her head. And it was like a sphere around her. If you're those people that got the seats right behind her, you're just enraged the entire night. And I just couldn't let it go. Like my rage just kept building at like the selfishness of her dress throughout the entire thing. So that was my worst dressed. But what about you guys?
I liked Halle Berry's outfit.
Oh, yeah.
She put her whole leg into it. I love the wigs that she wears to the Oscars. This is not her best Oscars wig, but she just always looks great. And I thought The Rock dressed really boringly, but I don't know if anyone was like terribly dressed.
But wait,
I think that is a very bad color for The Rock.
the pink
Oh
coat?
yeah, it was not good.
Very, very bad color. He looked washed out,
Oh.
very much so. Among the men, I thought the only man who like stood out to me as being like clearly well dressed was actually Troy Kotsur, who won last year for
Hmm.
Coda,
Oh, yeah.
supporting actor.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was
He
cute.
had that like purple crushed velvet suit, but what really did it was the cap.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
That was a good cap
It was a
for
good
his
hat.
head. I
Yeah.
think he looked really, really natty.
Oh, sorry. If we're talking about hats, Todd Field probably worst dressed. That hat
Oh
that he
man,
wore.
that hat! What was that hat?
I don't know. It was terrifying.
It made me
was Lynchian.
retroactively like lower my rating for every Todd Field film.
Sorry, but yes, what was your worst? Or-
So my best, in terms of people who knew they were going to be on camera sashaying around, I probably would have to go with Nicole Kidman. Really
Mm.
simple. I think the simple looks were the ones that worked for me this year. Just the kind of clean lines, good color, like just a sparkly black. I thought it looked really nice. But far and away, my favorite dress was Brendan Gleeson's wife, who
Brendan Gleeson's wife. I gotta pull her up. I'm doing this like on the fly as fast as I can. Just like I'm looking
That's
at that
fair.
hat right now, and that is really bad.
So you got yourself this middle-aged Irish woman who is being good for her husband, and she's like, I'll fly out to the goddamn United States with you so you can
Uh-huh.
win this award. But I'm not going to put effort into it. She is clearly wearing the like, this is what I wear to go to my nice dinner at like the Olive Garden outfit. Like it's a very middle-aged woman from the British Isles dressing nice.
Is this a suit? Like are you talking about the green suit?
I'm talking about the green suit. It's like it's very. I don't want to be here, but I'm going to support my husband. So
Yeah.
I'm going to put an effort into dressing up. And I liked the amount of fuck you Irish energy that suit just radiated like a sun.
And she's got like a side pony going on her hair. Like she's like, oh yeah, I was gonna like leave it down, but I guess I'll just kind of pull it up.
I love it. This is
Yeah.
exactly the way Mrs. Gleason dresses when she's going to like the theater. Like this is not dressing up for the Oscars. I'm like, good for her.
This.
Good for her.
Yeah, I didn't see.
Take her ass out to Los Angeles during a cold snap. Whatever she's supposed to put in.
I love it. Yeah, this is a best dressed for sure for me. I love the like.
It's just
I don't care.
I love the casual like, and it's fine because she's not the nominee. She's the nominee's
Yeah.
wife. She's just there to like occasionally pop in reaction shots.
Yeah,
It was good. I
agreed.
liked it. I hesitate to say what my least favorite dress was.
Tell me, I'm googling everything right now.
Florence Pugh.
Hang on.
I thought that was a fucking disaster.
So I think I like slits. I think that's what it is. I think
that wasn't slits. That was like billowing clouds of like beige hotel bed sheets.
You know what's funny is in the moment when I was looking at it and she came out, I was like, ooh, I really like this. I think because it was just sort of like, what is that? And then I will say, if I'm being honest, when I went back to kind of like re-look at outfits for the episode, I was like, that looks a little like a bed sheet that she's wrapped around
it's a
herself.
little poofy. A friend of the show, Cameron Shaw, texted me to be like, it looks like she looks like she just crawled out of bed and dragged it with her.
Kind of does.
It kind of does, but the silhouette is nice.
The silhouette,
the kind of material and texture.
So, but I'm glad that you liked it, Carrie. I don't want to.
No, it's okay. I might rethink it. Brennan, what were your favorites?
I was going to throw into competition the matching kind of tulle-heavy poofy dresses that Melissa McCarthy and Halle Bailey wore to introduce that god-awful Little Mermaid trailer.
I believe my exact line in the room was Melissa McCarthy needs to cannibalize her stylist. Like that. Everything was wrong. The color was wrong. The lines were wrong. The neckline was really, really goddamn wrong.
Yeah, it was miserable. And then we had, at least it was a pop of color before the Little Mermaid trailer.
Thank God.
All right.
My mother had learned from me earlier in the day that Melissa McCarthy is going to be playing Ursula. And she was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. And then after both the Little Mermaid commercial and then later on a commercial for some sort of travel booking site where Melissa McCarthy sings, she texted me.
That came like right after, too.
I know. She was like, I really feel bad about the Little Mermaid. I don't think this is going to work. And I'm like, it's not. Like, she's really bad casting. So anyway.
I'm going to redo my favorite because I didn't know this person's name. So I had to do some digging. But this was the other dress that I was like, whew. Do you know who Cara Delevingne is?
I do. She's the one who introduced that psychotically stupid anthology movie that got Diane Warren her most recent Oscar nomination.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So that red dress with the side poof, it's got a pocket on the right to put your gum and snacks, and then it's got a slit on the left. That one does it for me too.
I frankly don't even remember what she was wearing. We were at that point getting so like, we were hooting and hollering about the Tell It Like a Woman situation at that point. So I don't think anyone was really paying attention.
You'd zoned out.
And that song is tremendously bad.
It's the worst song for which Diane Warren has received an Oscar nomination.
God, just the phrase "supernova superstar" should not be present in a song that's nominated for an Oscar.
I mean, if it's like a real cheesy LSD-addled musical from like 1975, go for it. But anything else, no.
No, and then that poor woman who was singing it had to get really serious in the middle, and she's like, all the women on the globe, applaud for yourselves. And it's just like the most misguided feminist statement I've seen, well, this week. Because last week...
Very much like the motion picture to which it is attached.
Jesus Christ. But I will say, it's only been a week because last week I was at the grocery store and M&M's in celebration of International Women's Day, they're like, women across the world are flipping expectations or something, so we turned our packaging upside down to celebrate women. And I was like, wow. Well, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
So bad. I hate that so much.
Yeah, it was not good. But that was at least a second worse.
Wow.
Jesus H.
Progress. So well, thank you guys for sitting down and chatting through all of this with me. I needed to process it somewhere, somehow, with some people, and you guys were my best option. So thanks for getting together to talk about it. In closing, thank you guys all for listening. You can go out to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, follow us out there. Go to alternateending.com for our movie reviews, this here podcast, and so much more. Get out there and don't forget about Patreon. Coming up next week is Dealer's Choice, so you'll find out when it comes.
Is that a new series that we've just introduced? Do I need to know the details of this?
Maybe. We'll catch you next time.